Thick, ambery sweet, with that traditional flavor, maple syrup has been a pancake's best friend since the 17th century. Since then, commercial syrup brands have made maple syrup more accessible to people who can't tap themselves. But what exactly is the syrup made of? Many, like Log Cabin and Aunt Jemima syrup, aren't even made with any maple syrup at all. Worse, sodium benzoate, the chemical used to preserve this fake syrup, bonds with vitamin C to create a known carcinogen. Unfortunately, real organic syrup is too expensive to be a viable choice for many pancake eaters. So, does this mean that maple syrup lovers are doomed to empty their wallets or consume carcinogens? At the sustainably based Chewonki Semester School in Wiscasset, Maine, neither option appealed to us. So, we decided to try a third option, tapping our own maple trees for syrup. The first step is to get materials. The first thing you need to tap syrup is a spile. These are relatively cheap and can be bought for $3.49 at Mills Fleet Farm. You'll also need something to collect the sap in. We used metal pails, but you could also use plastic milk jugs with a hole bored in them so that the spile sticks directly into the jug. If you use metal pails, you'll need to cover them to keep rainwater from entering. We use paper plates tied onto the spile with wire to do this. Step 2. Build a freezer. You'll need somewhere to store the sap in between boils. If you don't have a large enough fridge, you could bury 2 10-gallon buckets in a small mound of snow.
Collecting sap is really incredible, and I'm new to it. And when I went down to collect my first bucket, I looked inside and it looked like water. And I thought about it some more, and there's so little sugar in there, it really does look like pure water. But there's just a little bit of sugar. And so we started thinking about what we could do to limit the amount of water in there. And one way would be to boil it off, but we thought of a different way, which is to put it in our freezer or to let it out overnight, which is even better, on a cold, cold night, and let nature freeze the water that's in there. And when that happens, the sugar that's there is excluded. It stays in the liquid form in whatever water doesn't freeze. And so then in the morning you can just go ahead and eliminate a big block of ice, and the liquid that's left behind has actually changed color. It's now brown.
Step 3. Start tapping.
In late winter, early spring, the conditions that make collecting the sap conducive are the cold nights, that is, nights that are below freezing, and then days that get above freezing.
Then it's time to tap trees. The best kind of trees to tap are sugar maple, which is sweetest, and red maple, which has a more robust flavor.
You can see that this is a red maple because of its opposite branching. These two branches come out from the same point right here, whereas alternate branching, the branches come out from different points off of the main
branch. Red maples also have distinct red, pointy buds like this. Sugar maples have the same opposite branching pattern, but different buds. They're browner and more narrow like this. When you've found the tree you want to tap, use a tape measure to measure the tree's circumference at chest height. Then refer to the following chart to decide how many taps to place in the tree. When you know where you want to tap, drill a 7/16 of an inch wide hole 1.5 to 3 inches deep in the tree at a slight incline. Gently hammer in the spile. Sap may begin to flow within the first few minutes. Attach your milk jug or bucket to the spile so that it begins to fill with sap. Collect the sap at least once a day and store it in the freezer you made earlier. It's natural for small particles of dirt and the like to have made their way into the sap, so after collecting, it's a good idea to strain it. When you've collected about 15 to 20 gallons of sap and frozen out all the water you can, it's time for a boil. First, you'll need a pan, the bigger the better. It should be at least 5 inches deep. If you have a turkey fryer, you can use that. If not, visit tapmytrees.com for information on how to build your own boiler. At Chewonki, we built the boiler using old cinder blocks and bricks. Once your pan and heat source are ready, fill the pan until the level of the sap is just 2 inches below the rim of the pan. Heat the sap to a boil. Don't worry about burning it. As long as there's 1 to 2 inches of sap in the pan, it won't burn. As the sap level goes down, continue adding sap. Be careful not to add too much sap at once so it doesn't boil over. Once all the sap has been poured into the pan and the remaining syrup is about this color, remove the pan from heat. Once the syrup cools, congratulations, you're done. Now sit down to a nice big pancake drizzled with homemade maple syrup.